Welcome back to I've Got Something to Tell You, bonus episode 3, short story edition.
Yeah.
And when we say short story, we mean anything from Reddit stories, stories that we just remember. How did you say it again?
Top of the noggin?
Yeah. Top of the noggin story.
It's like, yeah, just whatever random stuff that comes to Colleen's mind.
Yeah, just whatever we remember. That's how these are going to go from here on out. So, okay. Should we get straight into our stories?
Yeah, buckle up, guys.
Yeah, alrighty. I should have pulled mine up. Okay. Oh, do you want to start or do you want me to start? Do you want to start?
I don't care. What do you want to do?
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, this one is like a glitch in the matrix kind of story. So the story is from this guy, and he works at a hotel, and every night they have to have somebody on watch to do these like audits of hotel functionality, make sure all of like the machines are running, like things like that. So he works an overnight shift. But he's also like semi-security too, so he's like watching the security cameras. And he sees on the security camera this like figure in one of the rooms that has the like water filtration system. And he's like, this definitely looks like a person.
Yeah.
And nobody else should be here except for me. And so he goes to check it out. And he walks in and nobody's in there, but he's like searching. He's using his flashlight to like check everything. But then he sees that one of the water filters is leaking, but it's like a dark, like nasty water. Ew. So he's like, well, great. Now I have to like put this into my audit report. But so he cleans it up and then he goes back to his office, checks the security cameras again. He doesn't see this like person. So he's like kind of chalking it up to, felt confident that I saw somebody, but maybe it really was just like me being kind of sleepy today or something like that. Because he really did do his due diligence of like checking the area. Yeah. Cleans up the water, like I said, goes back to his office, and then he does his audit report. And then he comes into work the next day and he gets called in. He gets a email that says that he needs to have a performance review. And he's like, well, this is weird. Like they don't really do performance reviews. Yeah. Like that there was a performance review because that there was a situation that they had to address with him. So he's like, what? This is like serious. This would never normally happen. He's trying to like rack his brain. Like maybe the person, there was really a person in the place and I just didn't find them, or like that kind of thing. And so anyways, he goes into his meeting with the supervisor and they're like asking him a lot of questions. He's taking some classes and stuff like that. So like he's working night shift because he goes to school during the day. So they're asking him like, how are the classes going? Like, you know, are you getting enough sleep? And, you know, have you changed any medications lately? And he's just like,
such a weird question.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? And so they finally were like, well, we have to get to like the brass tacks of it all. And you missed the audit report the other night, which like is a huge no-no for this company. Like that is the primary reason that he is working at night, is to send these audit reports because it goes to the parent company. So if the parent company doesn't get it, the whole like subsequent company gets in trouble. And so they're like, yeah, like, but also like, you know, are you doing okay? And he's like, I'm just not understanding why you're asking me if I'm like okay. And so then they're like, okay, we got a video to show you. And they pull up the security video from that same night where he saw the figure and where he had cleaned up the water. Yeah. And they pull up the video and it's just him staring at what is like just blank floor by the water filtration system, just staring. And he's doing it for 2.5 hours.
Oh my God.
And he's like, I don't do drugs. Like, I don't do anything. He's like, and I vividly remember like how nasty that water was. Like, I vividly remember going and checking for somebody in that room. And I vividly remember sending that audit. But he's like, but what I'm seeing is just me
staring.
Yeah.
Ew, that's creepy.
Yeah. So ultimately he parted ways with the...
They're like, yeah, good story, but you're fired.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it was nuts.
I would probably fire them after that too, because I'd be like, creepy.
Yeah. So, glitch in the Matrix.
That was a good one.
Cool. Thanks.
Very creepy.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of stories. Well, I'm going to tell one right now.
Okay.
But I was looking, I don't know if you've ever heard of, like, black-eyed kids.
Yes, I have.
This was on their subreddit. It's not necessarily, well, it kind of is, but we'll get into it.
Okay.
So, first story. A few years ago, I was driving a long-haul route through a desolate stretch of highway between two large governmental territories. No signal, no towns, just trees and silence. I was young, pushing through the night despite the fatigue. At around 2 or 3 a.m., fighting sleep, I saw something just a flicker on the shoulder of the road. It looked like a small, upright figure. I told myself it was nothing, but then I glanced at my side mirror and saw it again. A small figure standing motionless on the roadside. I pulled over, reversed carefully, and found them. A child, maybe 6 or 7, in light pajamas, barefoot, walking slowly along the gravel.
Nope.
Shoulder near the woods. They didn't react to my headlights or my shouts, just walked, head down. Finally, they stopped and whispered one word, lost.
Clearly.
Like, bye.
Yeah. Stay that way.
They said they were trying to get home and motioned towards the forest. I offered to help, told them to get in the truck, but they insisted it's just in there. If you come out and shine your light, I can find the path. Something about it felt wrong. The child's blank expression, strange movements, and the way their face never fully came into focus. Still, they stepped closer, voice thin, asking me to help them walk into the woods. Then I saw it. Something behind them, a shape in the darkness, like it was tethered to them.
No.
Stretching from the shadows. That was it. I hit the gas, didn't stop until I was well past the dead zone. I don't know what I saw, but I know it wasn't just a lost child. And I feel like there's tons of stories of truckers on those roads with that kind of experience. And like, so one of my friends, when I was doing the hypnotherapy classes, she told me a story where she experienced someone with like black eyes on the side of the road.
Really?
And at first I was like, but I mean, I believe her because I knew her.
For sure, yeah.
And I think that might have been before I knew about like the black-eyed kids stories. Like it's like something that happens a lot. But she said she was at like a stoplight and there's like an older woman and I think she was like asking her for help. Like she came up to the window and then she saw that she had like the black eyes and she took off.
Oh my God.
I've been like, fuck that.
Yeah.
Creepy.
Hate that.
Yeah. So that was my first story.
That was... Are you going to cover black-eyed kids? Like,
I want to.
Okay.
Yeah, because I know there's like some stories on here that I'm like, I definitely want to do a full story on like what it is and, you know, but yeah.
So my next story, again, top of the noggin, is about this girl. So I guess the approach that I'm taking to these minisodes is like, just like crazy stories that I've heard over the years or like people have told me. So I guess take them with a grain of salt because the details aren't always going to be there. I just like talking about them.
That's fine.
Okay.
That's like literally on the one I just said about my friend was. I was like, I don't remember all the details. I just know she saw what she saw.
Yeah. Well, so there was this one about this girl and she had like just gone through a breakup. So she goes to like her family's cabin. And the cabin is like pretty far out there and like they don't really get like great cell service and stuff like that. But so she's going there just to like escape. And she gets there and she starts hearing just like kind of like odd noises and she's not exactly sure where they're coming from. And something like just in her mind triggers her. She's like, I just need to call and like gut check myself. You know what I mean? And so she calls the like local authorities and she says, like, hey, like, I'm not getting great signal. And they're able, I don't know how, but they're, like, somehow able to, like, see what type of, like, signal is coming from her cabin. And they pick up 2 cell phones. She is the only one that is supposed to be in that house. And so they're just like, get out of the house. They end up coming and they find a man that was in the basement, and he had been building a cage that he was planning to put her in.
Oh my God. Wait, this was someone you knew?
No.
Oh.
Just a story I had heard.
A story that you'd heard? That's crazy.
Yeah. No, it wasn't somebody I knew.
That would be wild.
That would have been
I'd be
wild.
like, get him on the podcast.
Yeah. You think if I knew somebody that was about to be kept in a cage, I would have been keeping them from you?
I know. I definitely would have heard this story before.
Yeah. I wouldn't shut up about it.
That's so scary, though.
I know.
I feel like those are the scariest stories when it's like you find out there's more than one person, or the person
like the call is
in the house.
Call is coming from inside the house.
There's so many horror movies like that.
I know. I hate that.
Me too. I got goosebumps. Okay. Next story. Same kind of vibe as my last story. So this story so it says the 101, and we have the 101 here in Arizona too. So I don't know if it's the same 101. So I don't know.
I don't know either.
So with no cell coverage and a midnight darkness only barely held back by high beams, it feels most oppressive near milepost 199. Okay, so probably not Arizona. Well, it says the 101 north of Forks.
Forks? Like Forks, Washington?
Maybe. Let's just say yeah.
Cool.
So, actually maybe, because he says the fog. Don't they get like fog over there?
That would make sense.
So he says, through the rolling 2 a.m. fog, I spotted a taillight reflectors, an old dusty 1980s station wagon sat like it had been through hell. Hood and driver's door forced open, windows still caked with dust despite a downpour 10 minutes ago. 2 kids stood nearby, maybe 10 years old. The boy wore a yellow Hulkamania t-shirt, and the girl... I know. When I was reading it, I was like, oh, what? I was like, oh, Hulk. The girl was slightly older, and she was in overalls and a pastel pink shirt, and she waved me down. I cracked the window, and she said, our car's broken. Our parents picked up a hitchhiker, and we haven't seen them all day. Please help. He said, what are your names? And they were almost like lifeless. He said fish-like. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And the boy was crying, and he said, our parents are missing. You have to let us in. And he said that he didn't blink. And he said, I'll stay here and watch over you till, like, your parents get back.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, please. And she started tugging at the door handle.
What?
And they looked more confused than afraid. And he was like, I wasn't unlocking the doors. The boy tried the back one, and I slammed down on the locks. He says, I've seen road jump setups before. Just because I saw 2 kids didn't mean there weren't more hiding in the woods.
Yeah.
The girl pounded on the glass, and she said, we hear growling. And she was like, bears might be coming, because they're like by the forest. And he's like, if there's a bear, I'll handle it if one comes out.
Yeah.
But for now, I'm going to stay in my car. The boy says, we haven't eaten or drank all day. And he has, like, snacks in his car from his drive. And he's like, well, I have cherry tomatoes and a water bottle. And they just stared at him. And he's like, are you allergic? Or do you just want water? Still nothing. He says, where'd you come from? If you were stranded all day, you'd be soaked. Because it was, like, literally just raining. And your car's still dusty. Like, there's no, like, mud or anything. She says, just let us in.
Ew, don't.
I know. He says he pointed at their cassette player, and he's like, retro gear. He's like, where are you from? And the boy started beating his window. And he says, you're not supposed to ask us questions. You're supposed to help. At that point, I would have taken off already. The girl says, help us, Howard. That's his name.
Ew.
Her voice and her brother's voice dropped an octave. He says, yes, help us do the right thing for once in your miserable life.
Oh my God.
He said, something moved in my car. I eased off the brake. As the car lurched forward, they let go and I drove off. 5 miles later, I flagged down a passing pickup, told the driver and his wife what happened, warned them not to stop. They give me a look of reserved for lunatics. They nodded, thanked me, and drove on. I waited, then followed them at a distance. He saw them stop at the kid's car, and he watched from the shadows, and what happened next took seconds. He said the girl leapt into the truck, and he said exploded into a gelatinous foam?
Gelatinous,
okay. Bursting the windows, devouring the vehicle.
What?
The husband turned to see his wife, trapped, just as the boy tackled him and erupted too. The foam consumed everything, melting even the metal like butter, and then it compressed. The foam reformed, same make, model, color of the couple's pickup. 4 figures now sat inside. So, like, everything's back to normal.
Yeah.
Headlights came on. As they passed, the kids smiled and waved goodbye. I turned to follow, but spun around, crashing in a way that popped my driver door open. I couldn't stop them. Neither can you. If you see 2 kids on the 101, call the cops, send help, but do not stop. It kind of reminded me of the Men in Black a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, it sounded like they were, like, 2 aliens, and they, like, ate them. And,
yeah,
like,
that's what I was thinking.
Yeah. I was like, okay. That was a wild one.
Yeah, you can't trust anybody these days.
Right? Crazy.
Especially kids.
I know, when he said, like, the thing about there might be more kids hiding, that's kind of what I was thinking the last time I told you that other story that I had heard, when people, like, it's like a setup.
Yeah.
Like, don't get out of the car. But, yeah. Anyway.
Well, those were our mini stories.
So we'll wrap this up, and thank you for listening.
All right, later.
Bye.